Here with Megan Menzel, the head women's golf coach at the University of Iowa, coming off, a victory in their home tournament, the Diane Thomason, and then the team's going to be playing in the OU Intercollegiate starting on Monday in Kansas. So thanks for the time, coach, and how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, we've had a fun week. It's always nice to play at home. Got to celebrate our seniors, and yeah, pretty special week.
Yeah, just tell me about, it's not only special, because you won your home tournament, Diane Thomason, and your team went back to back, but just tell me about your home tournament and particularly how special it was just to, celebrate your seniors and have your home tournament.
Yeah, I think, it's a really, as you know, in college golf, we don't get a lot of fans week to week, right? We have some very
Yep.
dedicated parents and supporters of our program, but it's really nice when you get to play in your hometown. And I think, it's really neat for the players to have probably more family coming out to watch. Some other fellow student athletes and a ton of staff here at Iowa. So it was just, yeah, just a really really great experience for all of us, and certainly a nice way for us to celebrate our seniors instead of kind of late in the spring sometimes when it just gets really busy. So it was
Yeah, and just what
nice.
does it mean? This is the second year your team now has won your home tournament back-to-back years. Just tell me about your team's performance. How proud you are of your team winning because people think usually that oh, it's your home tournament, you should win. But I've been around college golf a lot to know that I know with your home tournament there's a lot of expectations, maybe pressure. So just how proud you are of your team, and particularly Maura Peters, who's one of your top players. She had a top 10 finish.
Yeah, she's really been coming along. But I think you're exactly right. We did not come out well. We played okay, the first round, and the second round was um, not our best, So we had team dinner that night, and had to kind of regroup and have some tough, conversations. But it's more just how we were executing. And I think whether we were a little bit tired, right? 36 whole day, it was hot. It was definitely, or just kind of the expectations of thinking things maybe would be a little bit easier at home. And so I was really, really proud of them. We were fortunate enough to win a couple times last year, and we didn't ever feel like we had really done our best, if that makes sense. We kind of left both of those with a little bit of a not a great taste in our mouth. And so that was kind of unfortunate because it's hard to win college golf tournaments. I think any coach would
Yep.
say there's so many teams involved, and it's just very different than a lot of other sports. So this one felt good. They were minus 2 under the last basically 10 holes of the golf tournament on the hardest part of the golf course, arguably, we think. And so they just really stayed patient. And I think this one felt really good to come from behind and get the win. It was pretty special. And I know this was a huge goal of all of our seniors, regardless of if they were in the lineup or not. They've really done a lot to lead, and really wanted to make sure that we got this win.
Yeah, you mentioned, winning in college golf, particularly, winning tournaments in college golf is difficult. And that's a good, segue into my next question. Last year, your team won two tournaments, as we mentioned. Your team last year won, your home tournament. And then you also picked up a victory in the spring at the Nashville Invitational, the most for your program since 1999, 2000. So just how special was it last year to get, two, tournament victories for your team?
Yeah, I think for us it had been a little bit, so I think just to get that taste of winning again, I think again, every coach loves when you're in the hunt, right? Week in and week out, college golf can be kind of a grind. And when you get that chance to be in the conversation coming down the stretch, the last part of a tournament, I think you see so much growth in your players, right? It's just a little bit different. Not that you don't when you're not in contention to win, but I think we all know that, the feeling of winning and really being in that opportunity is huge for all of your players. So I think we
Yep.
learned a lot from that last year. We had a few individual victories that probably got away from us. I'll be quite, I think we had a couple players going into the last day that felt like, they had a chance to win, and it kind of slipped away. And so we learned from that. And then we also just learned from, it's big in college golf also, the separation, right, of strokes. And so for us, just playing a little bit cleaner golf, and, it's still something that we're really working on very hard to close the gap, and learning a lot through all of these experiences. So pretty
Yeah.
cool to be able to do it and feel a little bit better about this victory for sure. So.
Yeah, it's a two-part question, Coach, next. But you talked about the growth of your players. You've seen growth, particularly from, let's say Maura Peters. Let's just talk about her. She had a rough, start in your first tournament in Purdue, and then she, had a good, top 10 at Wisconsin and top 10 at your home tournament. So what do you see for her, and just, what do you see for your team in your last two fall tournaments? OU's Intercollegiate and then the Mississippi State tournament to end your fall season. So what do you see? How's the growth been for more after a rough start, and then what do you see for your team in the final two fall tournaments?
Yeah, we're really excited about what we're seeing from Mara. She's really grown a lot as a player. She's a pretty naturally talented player, but just learning to be in these moments has been huge for her. We've seen a lot steadier play around the greens, on the putting green, and it's just really helped her. She's a really nice ball striker. I think that's gotten a little bit more consistent, but I think a lot of the keys are just kind of a little bit emotional control. Kind of really being connected a little bit inside what's happening kind of inside and excited, but yet obviously being a little bit nervous in some of these situations. And she's just grown a lot in that area. She's a natural leader, so it helps our team a lot. Not afraid to talk about hard things, struggles, things that are going well, things that are not going well. And so I think some of those conversations that she brings to our team week in, week out has kind of helped all of us be a little bit more real and, kind of get to maybe making some breakthroughs and learning how we can be a little bit tougher in those situations. So, and then the last two tournaments, we're pretty excited. We play two U.S. Open courses to finish out our fall season, so that feels pretty special. I think trying to go into Prairie Dunes, just very grateful. Everybody that we talk to says what an amazing golf course this is, and what an experience it is to play at Prairie Dunes. So we're super thankful that OU included us in their field, and also that they've been able to secure such a high level golf course for all of us. So I think it feels pretty special, and we've been doing a lot of course prep, working really hard on our short games, talk to as many people as we can about the golf course. And so, the next job I think is to trust our training and, really to go in with an attitude of we're going to have fun and enjoy this great experience and see what our golf games can do for us this week.
Yeah, I've talked to other coaches, and whenever you can plan, really special courses just in the game of golf, that's always really great, for your team. And so, coach, you've been, coaching at Iowa since 2011. So, you've been coaching for a while, Iowa now. Just, what initially led you to Iowa? Just tell me a little about Iowa golf and just, particularly, how did you and your team, navigate, the winters in Iowa?
Sure. I grew up in Cedar Rapids, so that's about 20 minutes from our
Okay.
campus. So I grew up as a Hawkeye fan, going to football, basketball games. Have been a fan my whole life. My family is really predominantly from this part of the country. So I have a lot of pride. I'm very proud to be coaching at the University of Iowa. I feel like it's just an amazing athletic department. Got great support here for all of our sports, and in particular, women's athletic is huge, right? Kind of an epicenter of lately of just a lot of growth, a lot of exciting things that are happening in a lot of our women's sports. So that feels super special to be able to be a part of that for sure.
Yeah.
Certainly have some challenging weather at times. I think as a lot of people do, it's interesting. I think everybody thinks spring golf wherever we go is sometimes really nice, but I think all of us have shown up in very places that you'd expect really great weather, and it's not always the case. So we definitely, really are proud of our players. Sometimes they come out of training in the building. We get to work a lot fundamentally. I think sometimes just the shutdown a little bit of not being able to play necessarily day in and day out is sometimes a good thing. I think sometimes they get a little bit of a break. We get some bodies recovered, and we can really focus in on some areas that we need to fundamentally. So that's how we really approach the winters. We're very fortunate. We have a really nice building. Located about a mile and a half from our dorms, or where most of them are living, with TrackMan and obviously GC quads, and being able to lift up garage doors and putt and chip inside. All those things are certainly a huge advantage that we don't take for granted, because there's players that came before us that had none of that. They were hitting into a net that was about 10 feet in front of them, and definitely not the technology that we all have today. So seeing a lot of growth in that area, it allows us to feel much more confident, I think, coming out in the spring with really good reps, good numbers, good information about what's happening with our ball flight and skills. And yeah, we're hoping to just continue to grow in that area, and we certainly appreciate the support that the athletic department's giving us to do that. So.
Yeah. Big Ten championships coach. Last year was in Maryland. This year it'll be in California at the end of April. Just what do you think it'll be like now, going from having your Big Ten championship last year in Maryland to now having it in California?
Gosh, I keep saying that, but pretty cool opportunity, right? I think all of our players are pretty excited to be in that area. Anytime you can put California on your schedule, I think it sounds pretty awesome. So We're really looking forward to that. It will be different, but I think we've gone east for a long time for the Big Ten championship. Gosh, for now it's been quite a few years in a row. So we're really I think we're all kind of ready for the change and excited about the opportunity to play out there. And it's been pretty cool. I mean, the expansion of the Big Ten. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's hard work.
Yeah,
It's pretty brutal. We're gaining amazing teams, and but it certainly makes you stay focused and continue to try to work really hard and recruit the best players and prepare your players the best that you can. So we're excited about that for sure.
yeah, definitely. And to start you mentioned pretty cool places like California. To start your spring season, you'll be in Puerto Rico to start there, and then tournament in Florida. So what do you think it'll be like? Starting your spring season in Puerto Rico. That'll probably be pretty cool experience.
Yeah, definitely the highlight of our schedule. I know,
Yeah,
our team is very excited about that and has that one marked for sure. Um, and it's been a few years since we've been back there, but the last time we were there is just an awesome experience. I think any time that's a big thing, right? The experiences that we're able to provide and the competitive opportunities in all these different parts of the country is huge for our team. So, and anytime we can get to kind of some unique places like that, we're creating memories that they're going to remember for a lifetime. So we're very excited about that opportunity for sure.
yeah. And coach, prior to coaching at Iowa, you were a teaching professional, I believe, at Denver Country Club for a few years. So just tell me about how your experience was being a teaching pro and how the transition was for you. Getting to college coaching. Was the transition? Was there any learning curve for you going from being a teaching pro to being a college coach, or was the transition for you pretty easy?
Yeah, I've had kind of a unique background because I actually started college coaching when I was about 23 at Boise State. So,
Oh,
I
you
had
did?
just
Okay.
finished yeah, that's okay. I just finished my playing career and I was shocked when they hired me, to be quite honest, but was very, that was a really cool experience to be, coaching and I had to learn very quickly, right, about when you're coaching players that are basically the same age as you. So that was pretty exciting. I spent some time at Colorado State and Kansas and then, had a young family, three daughters that it just made it difficult for me to stay coaching for a little bit. So that's when I kind of took a little step away, and I was teaching at Denver Country Club. And quite honestly, I hope that that's made me a much better coach. I think I learned a lot, right? Because I was kind of thrown into the fire early, and I think a lot. I've played at the University of New Mexico, was surrounded by a lot of great players. Coach John Fields was there at the time, so I just feel like there's a lot of people in my network that have helped me along the way, kind of navigating this coaching field. But I certainly felt like, spending some time teaching really made me better and helped prepare me a little bit better for this next time. So, but as you know, every single year we're facing new challenges, new things. I think our sport's changing a lot, evolving. But gosh, being in the Big Ten, we're surrounded by amazing coaches every single day, and I just it's a pretty awesome experience. I continue to try to learn and grow as much as I possibly can. So.
Yeah, finally, coach, you mentioned, you grew up in Iowa. So just how special has it been for you to be the head coach now for 15 years at Iowa? You mentioned growing up as a fan and just all that, just how special has this opportunity been? And now particularly, having some good success with your team.
Yeah, I think honestly, every day feel very fortunate. I think the Iowa brand is very well respected, and we've got an amazing alumni base. Every time we step in an airport, we're reminded of that, how special it is to be a Hawkeye. So
Yeah.
yeah, I take great pride in that, and certainly want to do my best every single day to make all Hawkeyes proud, and also to develop not only great golfers but great people. So certainly don't take that for granted, and want to make sure I'm doing that to the best of my ability.